So I just wanted to quickly go over how I approach sculpting clothing folds, and just some of the stuff that I learned recently working on this sculpt. So I just wanted to make this video so that I could kind of catalog this, because it was pretty difficult to find, well, one, to find documentation on how to do this in ZBrushCore, and then also just how like a general approach type instruction, as opposed to like, use this tool, use that tool. You know, here's something, yeah, I don't know, simulate cloth or some nonsense. So I have this character that I was sculpting that has these puffy sleeves, and then also like rolled up sleeve cuffs. And what I ended up doing was, after I shaped the general shape of the sleeve, I basically just came in here with the cracks brush, or a damn standard will do fine also, and just started working in some folds like that, just kind of from the center out to wherever. So if so just thinking about like where that's gathered, I just want to draw on the screen real quick. Let's get some. So this is going kind of out like this, right? So it's poofing up, but then here around the arm, then it tightens back up. So if, say, like imagining that you have some elastic around this or something, you would want the folds to go perpendicular to this, whatever the gathered edge is. So if you're looking at it straight on, then the folds are gonna radiate out from there, kind of like a something like that. Put this over here. So that's why, you know, basically just like mark the center and then kind of start going out from it. I also, let's see here, I just put some examples over here to kind of simulate the same thing. And I'll just start kind of drawing these and try to get them unevenly spaced so that they look nicer. So try not to, you know, make them, try not to have them all like with the same general spacing like that, because that's not gonna give you a good organic look. So when you're choosing where to put the folds, then you want to spread them out, you know, gather them more on one side, or do some smaller ones and some bigger ones as well. I just have this figure that I just meshed. And then once you've got that, let me smooth this out a little bit, just because I'm getting some jackies. And then what I would do is with the clay buildup set up this way, which I use it like this all the time anyways. Then I would just go around the edges, especially the corner there, and just kind of fill that in like that. Kind of like a flower, I guess. I don't know. Might look kind of silly now, but it is going to look nice once you smooth it out. You can give it, I would give it kind of like a square-ish, like a soft square end. But exactly how you do it, I think, is probably going to be up to the both the style of the sculpt and the kind of cloth that you're trying to get the look for. Oh. I'll just show those two. So then I would, go back in and flatten out the outer edge of these shapes as well. You don't have to go really tall, or I don't know what's a good way to put it. You don't have to add a lot of form closer to this end. I usually focus the raised areas kind of on the end there, end of the fold, as it were. I'm just gonna soften it out. This one's probably getting too crazy. But if you need to go back in and redefine the folds a little bit. You can also do the depressions with the clay brush as well. I keep getting this weird shape, even though I done meshed. Strange. So you can see that kind of starts getting you there. And then the other kind of fold is this this gathered sleeve type thing. So if you have a sleeve that you push up, let me try this. So let's say that the sleeve was this long, but it's gonna get pushed up that way, so that it is now this long. And I'll show kind of how I approach sculpting these folds. But these, you see, I'll use these two lines as an example. These are also going to end up perpendicular to the edge. So before, it was, or excuse me, they're gonna end up parallel to the edge, but they're gonna end up perpendicular to whatever the direction of the compression is, if that makes sense. So, if you're pulling the sleeve up this way, then I would call this the direction of the compression, this arrow here. And so, perpendicular to that, you're going to get those gathering folds. And what I notice is that these tend to kind of form in a C shape, or I guess it's an N if you're looking at it from top down. But if I look at it from the side, this kind of zigzaggy shape. See how it how it goes kind of up and down like that. So I can demonstrate over here. Nope. And it's basically the same idea. Actually, let me... I think what I ended up doing with those was, instead of using the cracks first, is actually went with the clay first. Oh. Come on, Serge. Thank you. And same where I didn't quite want a Z per se, but it's got kind of these soft ends, and then go back in and give it some depth. That's probably a bit much. You can see how that kind of starts to look like what you might want. Then you can also go the same way as we did with the other folds. You can go into the corners and kind of raise them a little bit more so that they end up a little sharper. Now you don't want to overdo it, because what will happen is, at least what I found happened to me, is that you can kind of trap yourself when you're coming back around. So be a little economical with those C's. So say that we have, you just want to keep the entire form in mind. So let's say that you have this depression continuing here. Then maybe I can go like this. And then you might just have an area where you don't really have that much of a fold. And then over here, maybe you continue it and you add another one. So that's what I mean by not overdoing it. You're still gonna, these are still gonna have to interact with one another. So here, if I went too long with this one raised area fold, then it's gonna run into the depressed area here. So that's gonna get kind of weird. So I should probably just kind of flatten this out and leave it. And then if you want it, you could also smooth this out and then have more C folds over here. I mean, maybe you could just kind of continue with this one if you wanted to. The actual placement of them is going to end up, you know, you're just going to have to do trial and error and see, kind of draw it out and see where those land. And then see whether that looks correct for the kind of cloth that you're trying to imitate. In this case, I wouldn't do this unless this was some kind of like a robotic arm cover or something, because these folds are just way too even. But you get the idea of like how these might form. Depending on, you know, when you apply that compression in that direction to the cloth. And obviously another thing you can do is just depending on, you know, what kind of material you have, or like if it's, you're like, oh, this I'm trying to sculpt this sweatshirt sleeve that's pulled back or something, then the best thing you can do is get yourself a sweatshirt and put it on and do what you need to, you know, format it how you want the look to be, and get some good reference that way. So I think that's something that is should be widely applicable, even if you're not using ZBrush, even if you're using Blender, or, you know, maybe less so if you're doing traditional sculpting. But I think if you're using some other software, then that should still be pretty translatable to most tools that you'd have available. Alright, that's it for now. See you next time.